Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everyone to our 45th webinar series. It is gratifying to look around and see so many familiar faces on the monitor. That's a pleasing welcome to what we know is going to be a great webinar. During this unprecedented period, we managed to stay in touch with each other and create positive pathways for all in the group. For that, a big thanks for your faith and support. As we try hard to put behind us the memories of COVID-19, it is time for renewal and regeneration. With every passing day, we introduced a wider informed view into the selection process that is driven by global market requirements. The process has had knock-on effect of growing collaborations across functional boundaries. A notable achievement during this time was the galaxy of eminent people who have addressed our forum. Our immediate priority is for this disparate group of people to work in sync to overcome challenges and draw new pathways for the future of this wonderful business community. It's critical that the work we do, besides benefiting this group, also finds resonance in the larger business community outside. As we begin work with renewed vigor, we would aim to achieve and enlighten all on Industry 4.0 standards for which we seek support and involvement of all. We hope to see the participation of many more entrepreneurs across engineering, agriculture, management, pharmacy, marine, etc., particularly more youngsters from beyond 2K who might be able to add a fresh dimension to our goals. The genesis of AABN was a trailblazer in many respects. We salute Mr. S. Iranai, 76th Batch Chemical Engineering, President, Chemical Industry Association, and Chairman, Managing Director, CTS Petrochemical Limited, our founder member, for showing their dexterity and vision to look beyond times to advocate India's future that lay in the spirit of an enlightened market economy. 4 years hence, as AABN stands at the cusp of its great economic transformation, our founders' thought process and conviction got vindicated. These high points of economic engagement have the takeaways in cementing economic, strategic, and people-to-people relations, which are the cornerstones of a growing and enriching partnership. Thank you very much, sir. Today, I am very pleased to welcome Ms. N. Sujatha Prakash as our guest speaker. While preparing for today's event, my thoughts raced down memory lane to a time when talking to women on campus was considered taboo. So though we never got to interact freely with many of our batchmates, they are still undoubtedly an important part of my cherished anomaly memories. It came as no surprise when I chanced upon studious Sujatha many years later, and I've been able to follow her stupendous success. Whether it was her work in the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board or in pushing the idea of ISO standards to ensure safety in the workplace, she has left her indelible imprint in all that she undertook. Today, she has emerged as one of the most sought after voices when it comes to issues relating to Qesh. Today's session, The Edge of Excellence, a rethinking of Qesh strategies, will not only showcase our expertise in the field, but also look at ways to improve business by focusing on quality, environment, safety, and health, which according to me is a factor that most companies tend to downplay. In their quest for quick profits, companies tend to neglect the long-term occupational health impact on employees. It is in this context that AABN, in association with CIA, decided to put together this interactive session by this awesome speaker with fresh perspectives to address us. Before I hand over the floor to Sujatha, let me quickly run you through her achievements. Sujatha is a process architect with 3 decades of experience in standardization, end-to-end execution of process in driving business growth and process excellence in quality, health, safety, environment, and energy. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from Annamalai University in 1987, followed by a master's degree in chemical engineering from AC Tech campus, Anna University, in 1989. She started a career in the teaching arena in the Department of Chemical Engineering, AC Tech, Anna University, followed by a long stint in the field of environment as a monitoring personnel for regulatory compliance in the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board. To read a few of her enticing achievements, she has 2 decades experience as a regulatory personnel, consideration experience in ISO 9001 2015, 14,000 2015, 45,001 2018, 50,001 2011. Completed the Clean Development Program as lead verifier to assess the carbon footprint, qualified and trained lead auditor and tutor for various ISO standards in various entities globally. Handling customer complaints and addressing issues, has developed reasonably good understanding of auditing principles and requirements through practical experience with over 400 man days of audits, has hands-on experience in implementation of lean techniques to enhance productivity and business excellence. She has undergone a pedagogical training program conducted by the Danish government. This helped her to design training program by doing a training need analysis, following the accelerated learning techniques to drive the technical concepts. Perhaps a long list that has been cut short rather reluctantly by me to save time. Sujatha has an in-depth understanding of the subject and will take you through a range of issues and the protocols to be followed to ensure higher standards of quality, environment, safety, and health, and clear any doubts that you may all have. On behalf of the core committee of AABN, we welcome each one of you present here for understanding how critical this issue is and making time to be here. I hope you make the best of this webinar, which is not just timely, but can have a telling effect on the way we handle the issue of Qesh in future. May we request Mr. S. Ilanaya, President CAA, the special invitee, to say a few words before handing over the floor to Ms. Sujatha. Thank you. Yeah, you can start, no?
Good morning to all. Can you hear me, Gopi?
We can hear you, sir.
We can hear you, sir.
Yeah. We all started this ABN 3-4 years back. And today, we are conducting almost close to 50 programs. I think the success is basically because of the hard work by Gopi, Tariq, and the team. I'm very happy that we just started like a 3-4 years before. Today, it has become a forum where experts like Sujatha are invited to participate and deliver lectures. I'm listening to most of the lectures, and they're all very interesting. And not only Annamalai alumni, today, executives in Chennai Petroleum, Indian Oil, and other industries also attending the program. This goes without saying that the success of ABN is because of the hard work by ABN Executive Committee. I appreciate the work by the ABN Committee, Executive Committee members. And today, an expert is going to deliver a talk on quality, environment, safety, and health. So I don't want to take much time. Just 2 points I would like to stress as a intelligent and a responsible person as a president of CIA. One is new terminology, RECP, Resource Efficient Cleaner Production, which means RECP means continuous application of preventive environmental strategies to process products and services in order to increase efficiency and reduce risk to human and environmental. So REC basically addresses 3 sustainable dimensions. One is improving the productivity by use of resources. Second, environmental protection by conserving resources and minimizing damage to the environment industries. Third is social enhancement by creating job opportunities. In this direction, we come to the CTEX Petrochemicals Limited, which is a 250 crore turnover company in Manali. We are trying our best to improve the quality of our products. And because we are giving that importance, today the international companies like Chevron, Voronoi, and also big multinational companies in India, they are buying our products. Unless you give that importance for quality, we cannot achieve the growth in our sales. Another thing is that safety also. We follow all the safety protocols, and we had a very long accident-free record in our company, more than 10 years. And it was broken by one incident. And then again, for the last 6 years, we don't have any accident. I think Manali Belt, if you see, the accidents are very few. That is because the Manali petrochemical industries, and also because of the guidance given by Chennai Petroleum, we are all very conscious about our safety protocol. And when it comes to the other natural resources, we are using biomass as fuel in our boiler and in our power station for the last 6-7 years, which has reduced the carbon emission. Second thing, our process lean acid is evolved. I mean, we use the sulfuric acid in the process, and then it gets degenerated and it becomes a lean acid. 98% acid becomes 52% acid, and which goes as a effluent, but we are not letting it as a effluent. We are again concentrating and reusing in the process, or we are using it for the manufacturing of magnesium sulfate in the Mettur small scale industries. Another thing is that hydrogen, which is coming as a byproduct in the process, normally people will flare it, but we are using it in the boiler. Not only in the boiler, we are using it for producing methyl isobutyl carbinol, another value added product. It is a hydrogenation process. MABK is converted into MABC. Similarly, the flare recovery, we are the first to introduce in the Manali belt. The waste gases are being recovered. And also we are a zero effluent company. And also we use recycled water. See, earlier we used to buy the water. Today, Manali Industries, we are all getting the recycled water. That is, the sewerage water is treated by the metro water, and we are buying that water. By doing that, thousands of trucks going to the Manali belt is stopped now. Carbon emission is reduced, and we are also using the recycled water, and the cost has come down. And also, we have a plan that we should become a carbon neutral company by 2030. I think many companies, whether it is Tata or ITC, everybody has a plan to go carbon neutral in the next 5 to 10 years time. And people are using green power. I want to share one thing. GRT is famous for its hotel. But today, do you know that GRT owns 500 megawatt solar power station? அதாவது அவங்களோட ப்ராஃபிட்ல இருந்து they are investing in the green power and they are trying to say they have become a power. GRT 500 மெகாவாட் உற்பத்தி பண்ணுவாங்கிறது எனக்கே வந்து போன வாரம் தான் இந்த GM சொல்றப்ப தெரிஞ்சது. இது போல பல பேர் today they are entering the solar power and wind power, and we have to encourage that. And all the industries, we should go for solar power and green power slowly. And I think many industries will become carbon neutral by 2030. I think we are going to hear from Sujatha many strategies which we should be adopted in our industry. I am happy that Gopi could organize a lecture, and this lecture we will record it and share it with all industries in Tamil Nadu and will be benefited. These few words, I thank the ABN Executive Committee members for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Over to Sujatha.
Can I start now?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll just try sharing my screen. If
Sure.
I have any difficulties, sir, I will just
Sure, sure.
Very good morning, or maybe I should say good day to all of you. And before I begin the presentation, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Gopi, Tariq Kamal and Shri Kumar sir for having given me this opportunity and having taken the efforts to have an interaction with me prior to the presentation today. So thank you once again for the opportunity. And again, a very good morning and good day to all the participants of the session. And it is definitely a privilege for me to be here to share my experiences among the stalwarts and experienced technocrats and legendary entrepreneurs of Annamalai University. And so thank you once again. And as I am beginning the presentation, I would just like to say that whatever I am sharing here as an experience is something that all of us are aware of, and we know that it is all, we are practicing it also. The main objective is that I would like to share, maybe I should say, I would like to trigger the thought process about how to fine tune the way we operate so that we will be able to move on step by step and reach the pinnacle of success without causing any adverse impact to the environment and being of benefit to the society, and again ensuring growth is at its excellence. What I would like to start with is, when we are starting a business, we just feel that it is enough if we start a business. But once the business is started, we have some aspirations and we would like to be successful, go on being successful, and ensure that we find a permanent place of success in the business arena. So enough is not enough, and we have to reach the best. So to reach the best, we need to make it in steps. From enough, we move to good, from good to better, better to best. And when we are at the best, we need to sustain ourselves in that position so that our performance and our accomplishments are always the best. The objective of this session is to give an eye-opening on the way the business growth moves on to business excellence. And when we talk about business excellence, how we achieve business excellence, what are the challenges we need to face, and from business excellence, if we need to sustain ourselves over there, we need to move on to process excellence, and what is the strategy that we have to adopt to achieve and sustain process excellence. And the impact of process excellence is something which is definitely fantastic. And when I say we need to reach a fantastic position, we have to have one thing very clear. We need to be very clear about the current situation or current scenario. We need to assess the as-is situation, and we need to have an attitude wherein we are open to understand or receive any suggestions for improvement. We have to be receptive, and we need to be fully transparent because we are focusing on improvements. And once we are very clear about what we want to achieve and where we want to go, with the right tools and techniques, we will be able to frame an action plan and move forward. As I already mentioned, when we say we want to start a business, we need to have a leadership team who will be driving the process of initiating the business. Once the business is initiated, of course, initiating a business, establishing a business, developing a business is all not that easy. And that's why we are representing it with ups and downs. And once the leadership team decides to initiate the business, we move on to the next step of developing the business. And developing the business is done with the support of enablers who could be in the form of resources and human resources, manpower, material, machinery, and policies and strategies evolved by the leadership team, and partnerships which facilitate the development of the business. Once we are satisfied that the business is developed, we move on, we work on and on to ensure that we are stabilizing the business. So how do you feel, or how do you understand, or how do you conclude that the business is stable? That is done mainly by seeing the outcome of our performances. The result we get is what it helps us to confirm that the business is stable enough. And once we are stable, we are not in a situation in this competitive world to sit back and relax and take a complacent attitude, saying that we have achieved and so we can just relax for the rest of our lives. I am very sure that all of you will agree with me, particularly the entrepreneurs. When it comes to stabilizing the business, we need to be sure that we sustain and move on and on. Once the business is stabilized, what is it we think of? We are going from enough to good, good to better, and better to best. So to move along or navigate in this roadmap, what is it we need to do? We will have to evolve a business excellence model. And again, while evolving a business excellence model, the leadership plays a major role. The way we say, when we are in the manufacturing sector, we have something called as raw materials and something called as finished products. And from the transformation of the raw material to the finished products is what is called as the manufacturing process. So the process is something which converts the raw material into the finished product. Same way, when we talk about business processes, this is what actually happens. The leadership comes out with policies and strategies. Their main focus is to ensure customer satisfaction and move on towards a feeling of customer delight. And when we have to achieve customer satisfaction and plan for customer delight, we have to be sure that we are engaging the right people and ensure that the employees are fully satisfied. Here again, there is a process wherein the management of people and converting their attitude into people satisfaction comes to the surface. The next thing that we all have to remember is optimal utilization of our resources, reduction of waste, and ensuring that we are providing job opportunities for the society, and we are providing a lot, giving a lot in return to the society without any adverse impact. Here again, we have this process. So a combination of all the processes involving the satisfaction of people, ensuring customer satisfaction, ensuring a positive impact on the society, and no adverse impact on the universe is all the deliverables that we have to focus on. So to focus on this, once all this happens, automatically the business curve will be following an upward trend. So once it follows an upward trend, it means that we are on the way to excellence. One thing I would like to tell you is, generally, the attitude that we have is that we are not open to accept changes, and we are not prepared to make changes. We always feel that we are doing the right thing, and we feel that we are wasting time if we have to come out with innovative suggestions or ensure that we are following innovative suggestions. But we always have plenty of time to perform the work inefficiently and resolve the same problems, doing repetitive work, making the same mistakes, solving the same problems over and over again. This is something which all of us have come across and all of us are aware of. This is a shortcoming in the industrial arena today. And this has been foreseen by the legend, quality professional legend, Edward Deming. And the same thing is what we are following. Of course, we have taken steps to move forward, but we do have this stumbling block, the mental block in ourselves, which is slowing down the progress and hindering our pathway to excellence. Once we say that we have formed or established a business, again, go back to my first slide. Enough, good, better, and best. So we are now in the point, starting point is enough. Now we need to move on to best. So if we have to move on to best, as we are progressing, as we are establishing the business, one thing we can be assured of is that there is always scope for improvement. Sometimes, or most often, as we are doing our activities, we will be coming across certain shortfalls the way we are carrying out our duties. So this is what we call as performance gaps. We are aiming for something. For example, we may aim 100% production, but we will be able to achieve only 80%. So when we say we are achieving 80% production, there is a gap in the performance, in our performance, which is leading to this shortfall. And how do we overcome this? First thing is we need to identify the gaps, identify the performance gaps, list out the contributing factors of the performance gaps. And again, we need to be very sure, very clear on one thing. We need to be true to ourselves in identifying the gaps, because unless there is transparency, we cannot reach the excellence goal very fast as per our time schedule. So when we are identifying the gaps and listing out the contributing factors, we need to identify the right tools to resolve the issues. The objective of identifying the gap is mainly to resolve the issues and close the gaps. And to do this, how do we start? We may be having a list of items or a list of areas we need to improve upon. So when there are a lot of areas we need to improve upon, we will have to prioritize which item has to be attacked first, or which shortfall has to be attacked first. So we will have to plan and prioritize the action. And that is what we mean here by the term strategy. And how do we plan and prioritize? Planning and prioritization depends on the impact the shortfall is having on the business. So based on that, we will have to decide which task has to be attacked first and which has to be resolved immediately. And once we prioritize the actions, we will have to frame techniques to transform the plan. We are planning in strategy, and we will have to transform the plan into action. So that will happen in the developing phase. Once the action plan is decided, all we have to do is execute it as per the priority list and execute it the right way. Once we start executing, we are on the path towards excellence. We are moving ahead towards excellence. But overcoming these obstacles, or rather following these techniques, is something which will have to be meticulously done, for we need to be sure that we are moving towards an improvement and excellence means growth, and that obviously is of very good importance to us. When we say we have to improve upon the business or develop or move towards excellence, move towards perfection, and want to be reach the pinnacle of success, what is it that we need to do? If you look at it, people have different perceptions. As a management team or leadership team, their focus will be on improved sales, increased market share and revenue, and they want to ensure that we are maintaining high levels of customer satisfaction. To achieve high level of customer satisfaction, obviously the employee productivity has to be enhanced. And once all this is done, there is an automatic increased return on assets. So This is the way the leadership team will be looking at when we are thinking or planning for excellence. And the working team or the second level team will have to think of what are the improvements we need to do, how to implement the improvements, how to change the process flow, what are the different things we need to focus upon. We need to ensure we are working efficiently, the process flow is efficient, and we have to identify the right clean tools, reduce the wastes, and ensure that we are standardizing the process with no compromise on quality. So ultimately, here also we are focusing on customer satisfaction, and here also we are focusing on customer satisfaction. Only thing, the line of thought is different, but ultimate goal is the same. Coming to the next, in today's world, a lot of us would have heard the words, be positive, be optimistic. You need to have a positive approach towards everything. Why is it you have a negative approach towards everything? This is something which we hear both in the personal front and in the official front, or at least I have been hearing it. So this is something which I would like to share with you. When we say we need to be optimistic, I agree with you fully well, but I would say that we can be positive, we can be optimistic, but again, we also need to be practical. So this is a common example which all of us know. When I give you a glass of half filled with water, an optimist says the glass is half full. And again, the pessimist says it is half empty. But the lean thinker, he wants to know why we are having such a big glass when only we are filling it up to half the capacity. So his point is we will have to work on reducing the size of the glass. When it comes to reducing the size of the glass, obviously we are talking about reducing costs, reducing the production time, savings on material cost, optimal utilization of resources, delivering what is required by the customer as per their requirement, no overproduction, no overprocessing. This is how the lean concept works. Again, when we talk about the gap analysis, we are having some issues in some processes. So we need to first understand the current situation, understand the current state, what is happening. All of us must have heard or are definitely familiar with the concept of 5 Ys or 5W and 1H. That is what this is all about. We need to understand what has happened. There is a problem. What has happened? Where is the confusion? When did this problem happen? Who is responsible for it? So if we want to solve things in a professional way, this who should come in the end. But generally, we always have the practice of asking us, who did the work? Why did the mistake happen? Instead of asking what happened, where is the problem? Then you follow this step. We are following the process. We are trying to identify how to address the process issue. We are not targeting the individuals. This is what needs to be understood when we are talking about the current state. So if this concept is clearly driven and accepted, then there will be more transparency and people will be prepared to share whenever and come out with the problems whenever they face the problems. So there is no question of camouflaging. And once we are transparent, we can immediately identify the gap. We need to go to the future state, identify the gap, and come out with ways and means how we can close the gap. So the gap analysis is very, very important when we are focusing on improvements. When we are doing the performance gaps, we are littered with a lot of issues, a lot of areas. See, for example, when we say that we want to focus on improvement, and whoever is coming out with areas for improvement, identifying opportunities for improvement, will be given an incentive, will be given an award. It is two goals are being achieved. One thing is that all the issues will come to the surface, and people will be interested in resolving the issues, because they know that there is no knife over their head and they are not in an insecure position where they are going to be punished. So that way there is transparency 100%, and it will be helpful for the betterment of the organization as well. So when we talk about categorizing, identifying the different issues, in order to prioritize, we will have to categorize the various issues under the different heads. The infrastructure, whatever issues are related to customer perceptions, issues related to employees, issues related to process. If we categorize it this way, then we prioritize based on these heads. We will be able to plan out what has to happen first, and then we will have to decide on the tools and techniques. When we talk about customer satisfaction, we will have to be sure that the customer requirements are clear, customer requirements are understood. And when we talk about processes, we need to be sure that the process has to be standardized. And when we talk about standardization, it is here that the ISO techniques are coming into play. And when we talk about the different areas or identification of issues, how to resolve, the lean concepts will be playing a role. And one more thing I would like to emphasize over here is, generally, as far as I have observed, people have thinking that ISO is separate, routine production activity is separate, and implementation of lean is separate. I would like to again put it across that all these are interrelated and interconnected. It is how we identify and apply the integration concepts to tools and management systems. We will be able to develop a feeling or a culture of discipline in our working practices, so that we are able to avoid repetition of work and follow a systematic, standardized way using all these techniques. And we can always say that we are doing a perfect job, but the results will speak for us. We need to always monitor and track the results, and the performance indicators will tell us where we are and what. When we know that we are lagging behind, we need to identify again areas for improvement and move on. But all this will happen only when the gaps are identified and listed out in a transparent way. Yeah, now coming to the various tools and techniques. When I say ISO standards, I would like to again reiterate that all of us must have heard about the quality management system. We are definitely familiar with the environment management system and occupational health and safety, and of course the energy management system as well. Now, when we say we are an organization is certified for quality, it means that the organization is focusing on its business growth, and the main focus is customer satisfaction, or maybe as per the current trend, I should say customer delight. And when we talk about ISO 45001:2018, it shows that the employee is the organization is concerned about the safety and welfare of the employee, and this automatically strengthens the binding between the employee and the organization. Sort of an employee has a feeling that his safety and welfare is being cared, and the concern the organization shows is something which will make him perform better, enhance his productivity, improve the loyalty, and ultimately the contribution of the employee towards the organization will increase multifold. And when we talk about ISO 14001, here again, we are talking about environmental management. When we say environmental management, we need to be very clear on one point. That is, the first thing is compliance with the environmental regulations and ensuring that our activity is not affecting the environment. We are not over exploitation of resources is not happening, and we are thinking of minimizing the waste, recycling wherever possible, and reducing the waste generation. So when we follow these 3 steps, automatically we are protecting and preserving the resources and preventing the degradation of the environment. Now, when we say we are about quality, health, safety, and environment, the next thing we'll have to focus is on energy management. And in a lot of cases, energy and environment go hand in hand. Again, when we talk about integrating or implementing all these standards, the resistance from the people is that they get the ISO certificate just for the sake of it. And implementing or adhering to the ISO regulations is just to maintain the certificate. But what I would like to reiterate at this point is all the processes related to quality, health, safety, environment, and energy. All these are interrelated, and these are all interconnected with the processes that we are following. But fortunately or unfortunately, we just take this as a backseat, and production and manufacturing, of course, I do agree with you that it is of prime importance, but these are the supporting functions which supports and ensures that you contribute equally, or rather we contribute equally to the environment. We are concerned about the well-being of the people, and all this is happening with a focus on customer delight. So when we say that we need to get an ISO certificate for the 3 standards or 4 standards, we can always think about integrating the management system. And as most of us are aware, the integrated management system with the components of quality, health, safety, and environment is something which is very much in practice now. The outcome of this is that we are standardizing these processes, and as we are standardizing this process, we are adhering to the ISO norms. When we say we are adhering to the ISO norms, one thing that we should be very clear about is, first thing, as far as environment is concerned, we are ISO compliant is an indication that we are making efforts to focus on environmental regulations, focus on reduction of waste, and as far as safety is concerned, we take all the precautions to ensure that there is no accident, or the accident is bare minimum, no fatality is happening. So these are the areas which will be focused upon when we are certified for all these standards. And ultimately, it is for the betterment of the organization as well. The next thing that we need to remember is principle of lean. Again, lean is also a tool which is focusing on customer satisfaction, and lean looks at everything from the customer perspective. There are 5 elements of lean which we have to think of, which talks about value, what is value to the customer, and what is the value stream mapping. When I say value stream mapping, this is similar to the process flow that we speak of in ISO. And this value stream mapping consists of different components, and certain things might be of value to the customer. Just excuse me a minute. Yeah, sorry about that. And we also need to be sure that we are following the process flow. having these 2 points in mind. What is of value to the customer, and the value stream mapping has to be as per the customer requirement and as per the customer demand. That is what is pull. And the next thing that we talk of is the production. Perfection. We are delivering goods in a perfect way, which is ultimately accepted by the customer, and there is no question of rework. So this is the way the lean process is working. And here also, when we say perfection and acceptance by the customer, the focus is similar to what is being told in the quality management system as well. And when we say we are talking about what is of value to the customer, the value to the customer could be from the employee perspective also, to see how much the organization is concerned about the welfare of the employees and how much they are concerned about their contribution to the universe without causing any negative impact or adverse impact to the universe. What are the steps they take? All this, which is coming under the value stream, is also being covered in the ISO standards. And when we come to the next point here is identification of wastes as per the lean concepts. When we talk about the lean concepts, there are 7 different types of wastes. And when I say waste over here, I would like to put it very clearly that I am talking about the process waste. Okay, this is nothing to do with the waste which is being generated from the effluent, by way of effluent or emissions in the manufacturing stream, but the basic concept is the same. Here we are trying to fine-tune the process by being very clear about optimally utilizing the raw materials, ensuring that we are not wasting time in completing the cycle, and we are not overproducing, we are not over-processing, and there is no question of defect. If there is a question of defect, again, it goes as a scrap, and again, the entire reprocessing starts. So we are making changes in the process, and this is again aligned with what we are talking of in the ISO and reinforcing the concept of recycle, reduce, and reuse. Okay, now the concept of Lean Six Sigma works on defining the problem, measuring the problem, analyzing the problem, improving, and then controlling. Same way over here, we work on the concept of PDCA, which is called plan what the problem is, how to resolve the issue. So plan out the issue, implement it, check whether you are executing it as the plan. If it is correct, the problem is resolved. Otherwise, we are moving towards how to improve it and restart the cycle again. One more thing I want to put it across is that when we say lean, the general thinking is that lean focuses only on quality. Lean's concept is only around customer. This, I would say, is actually a misconception. Lean concepts can be applied to quality, environment, health, and safety as well. And the takeaway message is that if we integrate the concepts of Lean Six Sigma, and the management systems of all the standards, then we are definitely on the right track to take our organization towards business excellence. When we speak about enhancing the productivity, improving the productivity, and reaching a goal, when we start with enough and we are focusing towards best, we need to follow the steps to reach the pinnacle. Okay, so if we need to follow these steps and reach the top, what is it that we need to do? The leadership team evolves a purpose. They have a mission and a vision where they want to see the organization after a few years, what is the mission they are going to undertake, and what is the long-term philosophy they will have to adopt, what are the core values that will have to be followed. So this is the purpose. The next thing is that we will work on the process. Again, when I say process, we need to be very clear that we need to have a standardized process. And when I say it is standardized process, this is where ISO comes into picture. Standardize the tasks, have set work instructions. So the way the operations or the manufacturing activity goes on, it should no longer be people driven. It has to be systematic. Things need to be transparent and in black and white. So people have to automatically follow the instructions and move on. And leveling of the workload. Generally, this is an area which is of concern to most organizations and to most employees, because most often we are all overloaded and we are all stressed out. So this, to have a control over this leveling process, the Japanese have come out with a concept of Heijunka. What they mean by this is they will be assessing the workload in the previous years. What is the production demand, what is the deliverable, and how many rejections have been there, how they can level the workload so that all the people are uniformly loaded. So the people, when they are uniformly loaded, the productivity is more, and there is the question of rejection is less, and the overall morale of the employees is boosted, and ultimately employee satisfaction is there. The next thing we speak of is about involving the people. Each individual needs to be respected and needs to be empowered. And when we say people need to be respected and need to be empowered, why? It gives them a feeling of importance. It gives them a feeling of value. They feel that they are being valued. And if they are being valued, automatically their output will be much, much, much higher, much better. Sort of, they will have their bonding between the employee and the organization increases multifold, and the loyalty grows up beyond imagination. So when such things happen, automatically the productivity is improving and we are moving on towards the pinnacle of success. Here, as we go up the ladder, we should be sure that we are pulling up others instead of pushing them down. But here, this is again is an attitude. As long as we pull up people and we bring up people, the organization will also grow automatically. So this is something that we all need to remember as we move on. And once we have completed all the three, we have identified the purpose, we have standardized the process, we have engaged the people, identified stakeholders as well. Now we need to see the outcome, our performance, where we are, is the output as per our requirement, and where is the scope for improvement? Is there a scope for improvement? If I ask you the question, is there a scope for improvement? Obviously, all of us must have the attitude and intention to say, definitely there will be a scope for improvement, and we should always be on the move. Sort of, it is, I have heard people say, we need to be continuously upgrading ourselves. Even if you are standing, you should be on your toes, even if you are standing in the same position. So that is what is all about continuous improvement. And when we say continuous improvement, here again, Lean and Six Sigma and ISO standards go hand in hand. And that is also mandate in the regulatory agencies as well. I am actually trying to bring out the commonalities between the Lean concept and the standardization processes. And as I had mentioned earlier, when we are identifying a process gap, an issue, we will have to see what the problem is, and we have to define the problem, and we will have to quantify the problem. So when I say quantify the problem, sort of when there has been a rejection or when the finished product has not been accepted by the customer and there has been a rejection by 30%. So the rework is there. So we will have to quantify how much or what is the percentage of rejection. That is what is the quantification. And once we have quantified over the past 6 months, the percentage of rejection is so much. So we will have to again do some deep diving in which particular month it has been more. So when we are able to narrow down, we should be in a situation to analyze why has there been a rejection, and the rejection has been a bit high in the month of February, whereas it has been bare minimum in the month of January, and in the case of in month of April also it is rocketing high. Why? We will have to dig into the cause of the problem. And again, when we are identifying the cause of the problem, the support from the entire working or operations team is very important, because unless we get the right information, the entire exercise may not give the expected results. So we need to be very careful and very alert when we are doing this analyze phase. Once we are able to identify the cause of the problem, we will have to move on to proposing solutions. And the solutions that we propose should be an improvement, should take the organization or the process towards the improve phase. And whatever solution we are proposing has to be accepted by the operations team, by the management, and we will have to do a pilot scale first, implementing the improvement measures, and then we will have to, once the pilot is successful, we can go headlong and implement it in the processes wherever applicable. And we will be able to maintain the gains and pursue perfection if we follow this meticulously. So this is a 5-step process for improving the existing process problems. When we don't know the cause, what is the problem? We are not able to find out what the problem is. This is where the Lean Six Sigma comes into picture. And coming to this PDCA Act, this is actually called the Deming Cycle, and it is a basic concept of continuous improvement, which is being followed in all the clauses of the ISO in all the standards. And here again, when we have a problem and we know that there is an issue, we need to plan the improvement. How we are planning the improvement is what is being done in the DMAC phase by Lean. So this is how Lean and ISO are complementing one another. And when we plan the improvement, we will have to create the action plan. We will have to execute the plan. Once we execute the plan, we will have to check whether the result is as per our expectations or not. And if it is as per our expectation, then it means that the solution that we have proposed here in the improve phase is working and the problem is solved. If it is not working, we will have to reflect on what is the parameter we have to focus on, how we have to look into it, how we have to review, and where we are going to correct it. And we will have to reiterate this cycle. Again, one other commonality that I would like to put forth is the process of risk management. Now, in the ISO standards has been formulated and aligned in such a way that integration of all the management concepts is much more easier now. And earlier, we did not have the risk concept in the case of quality management, but we had the risk assessment in safety, in OSHA standards, and the risk assessment in environment management is what we call as aspect impact process. Now we have this as a overall risk assessment, both in quality management, and in quality management, what we are doing is we are identifying the risks, business risks. And when we are identifying the business risks, how do we identify it? We start with a SWOT analysis. So we are identifying the strength, weakness of the organization, the opportunities and threats of our activities, and where we are exploring ways and means, whether the weakness can be converted into strength and the threats can be converted into opportunities. So based on that, we prioritize the risks, give a rating. That is what we mean by assessing the risk. Based on the severity, how it is going to affect the business, we will have to have a control plan. And this control plan, once it is prepared, it doesn't mean that it is made or carved in stone and it need not be revised or reviewed. It has to go in through a continuous review process at a periodicity which is as per the convenience of the organization. This is how the business risk works. The same concept we are following as far as environment is concerned, as far as safety is concerned, and this is all under the umbrella of ISO. When we come to lean concepts, here also we are identifying risks, risk in the process. First, initially, we are focusing more on the business risks. For example, if we are executing a project, what are the risks which we could possibly encounter? It could be delay in supplies. The supplier delay could be there, mistakes in design, resources are not available. All these will pose risks. And what is the outcome? Ultimately, it will have an impact on the customer. So when we are thinking of addressing this risk assessment is what we call as FMEA analysis in lean. And when we say FMEA, we focus here more on the product also. ISO is focusing more on risk, on process. Here we focus on both process and product. And anytime we are making new changes into the process, we have to do a risk analysis and we have to find out whether this is causing any new problems, or if at all we are foreseeing any problems, how do we encounter that? How do we have a control plan for that? This is how the concept of FMEA works. The same thing we are adopting as far as risk management is concerned in ISO. For example, in the safety concepts, sometimes we may be providing some machine guards or providing some safety measures as far as manufacturing sector is concerned, in order to ensure that the considering the welfare of the workforce and seeing to it that there is no accident. So when we are making a change in the equipment or in the process, we need to do a risk assessment before implementing this. And this has to be captured in the hazard identification and risk assessment of the safety standards. But this is where most often we miss out. So this is something which we always need to remember. And the same thing, whenever we are having a new change in the process, as far as environment is concerned, because of the introduction of the new raw material or new machinery, what could be the emission? What could be the power consumption? Will it have an impact on the discharge of effluent? All these will have to be considered, and we need to have a proactive control plan before we start off with this. When we say so much about lean, this is something which all of us know. Right from our early childhood days, we are always advised at home to arrange things, to segregate things, what is required, what is not required, and eliminate them in unwanted materials, arrange the materials in order, and clean the materials, standardize the process, and then maintain. This is something in my early days, keeping the bookshelf neat, maintaining the books properly. All these are all components of this 5S concept. So this 5S is something which is actually being driven or inculcated into us right from the early days. But how much we imbibe, how much we follow is a billion-dollar question. And this is something which is the order of the day as far as organizations are concerned. Of course, in the organizational sector, we do follow it. And this following this 5S helps us in avoiding accidents and plays a very important role in ensuring that the organization is accident free, and again keeping things in order and integrating the concept of lean with safety. Okay. We need to focus on standardized work, have set procedures. We need to ensure the process is stable. If we have standardized work procedure, automatically stability of the process will be ensured. And if we are keeping the materials in place, in order, and there is no shifting of the materials and things are arranged in a sequential way, unwanted materials are eliminated, automatically the place is safe for us to work, employees are happy, there is no downtime, and accidents are prevented. Organization and management will definitely be happy. When we talk about lean and environment, how is this integrated? We are all aware that there has suddenly been a surge of industrialization. And because of this industrialization, why is it that we are focusing on industrialization? There is an abundance of resources available. And at that point of time, we never realized that the resources are available in abundance, but again, there is a limit. We should avoid over exploitation. This is something we never thought of. And because the resources were available in abundance, we use them excessively, more than what is required. A lot of waste by way of spillages during the production also happens. And when excess of raw materials are used, ultimately the waste generation is more. And when we are talking about rapid industrialization, workforce shifting causes urbanization. And again, this is an unplanned action. And because of this unplanned action, it had an adverse impact on the environment. Pollution load increases. So a lot of things are happening because of unplanned actions, because of ignorance. So when we talk about the lean concept, we are telling that we need to optimally utilize the resources. Don't overproduce, don't overprocess, and speed up the process. These are the concepts. Save the resources, conserve the energy. This is something we are all talking about. Here again is an integration of lean and environmental concepts. We have now gone into the area wherein we have moved from enough to best. Okay, how do we sustain there? Once we reach the best, can we just relax? Now we have reached the best, so we can just sit back and sleep. As a child has a lot of capabilities, a lot of positive traits, but how we groom the child is what is important. Same way, an organization, we are grooming the organization, developing it and bringing it to a successful level. But how we are going to sustain and maintain the success is what we need to understand. Just to reinforce this concept, I have just brought this out as a child. Every child is an artist. Every child has a talent. But whether he will be successful as an artist or whether he will remain an artist is what we need to focus upon. And this is something which we have to remember when we are talking about developing the organization towards excellence. I would like to tell you, of course, most of you must be aware that there is a concept called zero discharge, zero effect on the environment, all these things. So these are terminologies which all of us are quite familiar with. And to encourage the small scale industries, the micro and medium scale industries, the government of India has come out with a lot of proposals. And one such proposal is to get the ZED certification. And when I say ZED certification, I have been repeatedly focusing on the point that we need to move step by step. From enough, we need to go to best. We are crossing or reaching the different steps and reaching the top. So as you are reaching different levels, we need to be motivated, and the small scale industries are getting a medal of bronze medal. If they reach the second level, they get a silver medal. If they reach the third, they are entitled for a gold medal. And 4 is diamond, 5 is platinum, and 6 is their own personal satisfaction of reaching the business excellence. So once they are reaching this, it means that they have complied or crossed 5 steps. And when I say 5 steps are crossed, what is the benefit they are going to get? What is it that the organizations are going to get? They are going to get better visibility in the competitive world, and they will be recognized because they are following standard processes. They are standardizing their activities. They are very environmental friendly, and the products that they are delivering is zero defect products, and the process they are adopting is, again, has no adverse impact on the environment, and they are very employee friendly, and the employee safety is taken care of. All these things will be covered if we are able to get the ZED certification. And this is an initiative promoted by the government of India, because when we say that all these things have to happen, immediately the next thought which comes to our mind is on the cost that we will have to bear to get this certificate. When it comes to this micro, small scale, small and medium scale industries, if we are complying with all this, we are being supported by the government. That is, these small scale industries are being supported by the government to get certified with all this once they take the initiative. And with the help of the government, the expense that they are going to bear is going to be very, very, very less, very minimal. But the outcome is that they will be moving on towards a perfect system, moving in the right track, moving towards excellence, and the maturity of sustaining in the, I mean, when you want to reach the top and when you want to sustain over there, that can happen only if we are able to follow all these compliances, and if the system is mature enough. So that is where the zero defect and zero effect is a maturity assessment scheme, which is of help to the industries. If I can continue for another 5 minutes, I would like to continue, or if we are running short of time, I can stop now.
No, Sujatha,
Hello.
please go ahead. It's very interesting. Everybody is giving a positive response. So please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, I have been talking about the ways and means, how we are moving step by step and reaching the excellence, and what are the issues followed. And when we are facing issues, how is it we are going to mitigate the problem, how we are going to resolve. I would just like to explain this with a case study. I am just picking out the current burning issue we are talking of now. Today, the global warming, climate change is something that is the buzzword sort of everywhere. We keep hearing about all these things. So we know that the problem, I am only trying to explain the concept of DMAC or PDCA with this climate change concept. When we say that the problem is about climate change, we need to first understand what is the impact of the climate change. What are the problems faced in different arenas? And again, as I told you, unless we are able to get the informations, get the right informations, that so many people have been affected by floods, or ocean acidification is going on. How do you confirm this? Based on testing. and again the aquatic life may be affected. So these are all indicators that this is caused by climate change. So same way, we are having different areas wherein we talk about decrease in global oxygen. We are talking about people being displaced by weather and climate linked disasters, and again undernourishment because of drought, and death because of heat waves and wildfires. And again, we are also coming across so much of information about the threat to the ecosystems. So all these are problems which are being faced by because of climate change by the universe. This is the definition of the problem: problems due to climate change. Why is it we are facing problems? See, when we people want to over exploit the natural resources because of poverty, because of ignorance, we have a tendency to forego or to give up our natural resources, and at that point of time, poverty is what is in our mind. So we are only looking at the short-term goal. We need to have some income or some revenue to manage our day-to-day living. So foregoing all these things is not a matter for us. So we are not aware of the environmental issues that could happen. With this concept, we have defined the problem and we are aware that ignorance is one reason. And now let us look at the various contributing factors which are causing the environmental issues. One thing is we are affecting the water bodies, and unregulated emissions coming out from the manufacturing processes. Deforestation is happening, and spillage of oil, so affecting the land. And here also unauthorized disposal of wastes. The green belt, the place which was like this, has now become this. So all these are the contributors. So to summarize it, it is just that we are having a lot of irregulated or deviations from the regulatory regulations. So when it comes to compliance, we have failed over here. So when we say we are failing in compliance, it means that implementation of ISO environment management system is not right, and we are degrading the environment, and we are just generating too much of waste. And when we say we are generating too much of waste, again, going back into the lean concept, we are over exploiting the resources. We are not using the right type of resources, optimum resources. All these are showing you the linkages between environment, lean, and ISO. Again, when we say the universe is affected, we are having this melting of glaciers. Again, wildfire, forest fire, drought, all these things are happening. We are all seeing this in pictures. So at times we do have a doubt whether this is really happening. But it is definitely happening, and this is something we need to focus upon. Now, to put things in a lighter vein, I would just like to ask you one question. When we say Christmas is around the corner, and when we say that Santa Claus, there is always a belief that Santa Claus comes around, and we all are familiar with the song of Jingle Bells and going around giving gifts to the children. All this happens. But when you see this picture, is it the same picture that we have all seen as children when we were kids? How was Santa Claus? Where is the reindeer? We are having a camel. This is actually a cartoon. It is something which may be humorous, but it has a wealth of meaning, and it is something that we all need to think of. We are in the middle of global warming, and we are now talking about how to reduce emissions. So instead of attacking what is to be done, when things go beyond our control, we even think of fitting reindeers with government-approved catalytic converter to reduce methane emissions. That is the way we will be going when we are too desperate to protect the environment, to prevent degradation of resources. Again, this is something which we need to really be concerned about. The aquatic animals are really concerned. Fossil fuels, global warming, rising seas. What is more going to happen? What is in store for us? So, because of the acidic levels, this is what is happening. This is what is in store. To summarize all this, we have found out the various contributing factors, and now we need to list out, analyze the cause, come to the root cause. And finally, we are all coming to this point of compliance obligation. Whenever there is excess of solid waste generation, air pollution, water pollution, resource depletion, impact on the environment, all this can be controlled if we are focusing on compliance. If we take ways and means to minimize water pollution, to minimize discharge, to optimally utilize the resources. And if all this happens, emergency situations can definitely be avoided. We have now identified the root cause of the problem, and we know that compliance obligation is one point. And when I say compliance obligation, it means that each one of us are responsible for complying with the regulatory requirements. Okay, now whose responsibility is it to evolve a strategy? We know that the problem is there, we know the contributing factors, and we know how we can take an action. But a long-term action has to be done, and that has to be done by the top management. And here, when it is in the whole global level, we need to be sure that a strategy has to be evolved. We need to have policies and frame regulations. We need to have measurable parameters. How much resources are being utilized? What is the impact of the environment? Impact of the pollutants on the environment, be it air pollution or water pollution, or be it degradation of the soil. How do we measure it? And how often do we measure? Periodicity will have to be defined. We will have to monitor. Monitoring is very, 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 very important. And when we say it has to be monitored, the results will have to be communicated. Why do we communicate the results? If the results are meeting the norms, we are safe. We are able to move one step ahead. When we talk about the efforts we are taking to prevent global warming. But if we are not meeting the targets, we are not meeting the limits, we need to start off with the PDCA cycle, and the whole thing has to happen. And here again, as I have been repeatedly telling, I would like to reinforce that transparency and sincerity is something which is very important and which will help us to move ahead. When we have come out with the strategy, when we have come out with the different data, what is it that we are finally deciding? We have now decided that reduction in greenhouse gas emissions is required from all sectors. So this is where all of us need to focus upon right now. So as individuals, if we are able to focus on this and see what best we can do to address this issue, we will be doing a small part. We will be playing a small role in protecting ourselves from the universal issue which is just looming ahead. Yeah, I have just come out with a roadmap. When we started off the environmental legislations way back in 1974, the resources were in abundance, and fresh water and clean air were the order of the day. And this was followed by the implementation or enforcement of the Air Act in the year 1981, and then rapid industrialization was going on. And as things were going on, we started facing issues. Unforeseen emergencies were cropping up. Environmental degradation was beginning. So we started focusing on environmental management. How did we focus on environmental management? We had to comply with the stringent environmental regulations and laws to overcome this. At this point, what is it we decided? Let us at least protect and preserve the environment. Let us follow the clean development mechanism. Let us minimize the waste generation. Let us focus on development and not on deterioration of the universe. But we were talking about sustainability, we were talking about scarcity of resources, and right now we are in 2021, we are in this pandemic and climate change and pandemic. We are now running everywhere for oxygen. There's no fresh air. We are running short of oxygen cylinders. A lot of things are happening, but how much are we aware that this could have been mitigated? Things could have been in control. Now we are focusing on moving towards a greener earth, a greener eco-friendly products. We are focusing on wind power, solar power, hydro power, whatnot. We are saying that we will have to move on to electric vehicle. At least now, let us be happy that the awareness has come and we are focusing on all this. At least the little bit that we are having in the form of environment and universe that needs to be passed on to the generations, future generations. Let us preserve and protect that, and at least now let us ensure that we don't degrade the environment further and make it still worse. So way forward, let us come out with ways and means how we need to fight global warming. So thank you very much for your patient hearing, and if there are questions, I am open. Hello?
Yes.
I only hope that it was of some use to everybody, because I just wanted to establish the linkages between lean concepts and ISO and routine activity. Instead of operating in silos, let us integrate everything and work towards a better phenomena. Yeah. I'll just stop the screen sharing.
Sure.
Thank you, Sujatha.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
It was a fantastic speech. I'm lost for the right adjectives to express how much we enjoyed it. Your perspective was very refreshing, and it was exceptionally stimulating and informative. Thank you for having taken your time to be with us today.
Thank you. I should say a big thanks to all of you. Yeah.
Yes, Sujatha, thank you so much. It was a very insightful presentation, prepared with a lot of dedication, and we could see the amount of effort and time that you have spent in giving us this kind of an enlightenment during the AABN meeting, all the way, from the basics of building business excellence and the misconception that ISO certification naam ke vaste log leke rakhte hain, and the way the leadership team has to take seriousness in taking various steps forward. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested and getting the importance and knowing how to do it. We'll leave the floor open. We'll open up the mics also for direct interaction by members if they have any questions.
Eric, first, Mrs. Stalin wanted to add a few things. Yeah, we can give it to Mrs. Stalin. Huh?
Stalin, sir, you can kindly unmute and...
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Stalin first. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Whoever.
Sorry, I was not knowing. Madam, myself from Bangalore. Here as a safety consultant, I see many small, medium industries established 40 years before, like that.
Yeah.
And at that time, environment rules are different. And technology was that old. Now the city has grown and these industries are inside the city. And regulations also changing. When I approach the management, it is a big financial crisis for them to upgrade and comply with the new regulations. And the city is completely engulfing the industries. How to cope up this type of things?
I think we have a lot of stalwarts over here who will be in a better position to answer this. I can come out with an answer, but I would like it would be nice if somebody else can give a reply.
Anyone would like to pitch in?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, Dr. Mamalan, go on.
Yes, sir. I am Mamalan from Chennai Petroleum, sir. Very good
Yeah, yeah.
presentation, madam.
Thank you, sir.
We had an experience of your auditing experience in our organization also. Many
Yeah.
very long association.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for a very comprehensive presentation on this. Lean manufacturing is really focused around the minimizing the waste. Very good presentation. And the integration is the order of the day, madam. Actually, the integration, how do we effectively integrate all the systems of management, quality, safety, whether it is environment and energy and health, everything. My point here is no single standard is available in the world to take care of all those things. How effectively we integrate all these standards is that alone speaks better actually. So this has been explained here, taking care of all the 5 years concepts, lean management, waste reduction is a very comprehensive. These many more attempts to be made in this area really. Actually, sustainability is the order of the day. So we have to take care of all those things. The only thing is how these standards really emphasize more on the commitment level of the top management to effectively control these factors affecting our operational efficiency. That is a very big question mark in our country. So the commitment level of top management is very that should drive. That is the driving force. So it's a very good information, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So, Stalin, sir, you can go on, sir.
Yeah. At the outset, am I audible clearly?
Nice.
Okay.
So,
Yes,
Sujatha,
sir.
he's from the 71 batch. Mr. Stalin from the 71 batch. He was the director of SPIC.
Okay, sir. Nice meeting you.
Thank you. So at the outset, let me appreciate Sujatha for a very comprehensive presentation covering various aspects in the given time. I'm not going to ask any questions, only few observations. I really liked her calling it, instead of calling it as off filled glass or off empty glass, why not to cut down the size of the glass? I like it. And now coming to how she began moving from good to best. Always I used to tell my colleagues that there is nothing called as the absolute best. Because as you start moving towards the best, it is like a mirage that also keeps on moving. In other words, if someone is targeting for excellence, you have to keep on moving the goalpost because the absolute is never achieved. That's why I call it as a mirage. In fact, I call it as being better than the best. Maybe at some stage you think that you come to the best, then you start thinking about how to be better than the best. You may not be the best. There may be someone else who is doing better than you. So how do we benchmark? How do we keep on updating? How do we constantly looking for improvements? Because one should never get satisfied about the so-called best performance. That is the point. In fact, if we are comfortable about something, we always get worried. Will we be on the downside of the business cycle? Because in a life cycle of any product or business, we have rapid growth initially, then there is a kind of consolidated, comfortable phase. Once you reach that, we do not know really when the downfall will start. So how do we launch the second S curve? That is the way we have to be constantly looking into further improvements, updating, whatever we said. When we do for that, I would really like to look into self-supervision rather than the factory inspector pointing out something or the pollution board or someone else pointing out. It's a self-supervision which only will make organization to prosper. Always, again, I'm going into my own experience and what we were doing. If a factory inspector points out something, if a pollution board points out something, we are glad that they pointed out. But internally, we start discussing how did we miss it. My point is, when some outsider comes and points out something, it should be something which was missed by us unknowingly, not something which was concealed by us knowingly. That should be the performance target for any organization to grow and reach excellence. And various systems and procedures, certifications, whatever you talked about, there is no point in having them on paper if they don't reflect on the field. I remember way back in 1994, we had a consultant from British Safety Council. The company where I was working, that was the first fertilizer company in the entire country targeting for Sword of Honor and going through the 5-star audit by British Safety Council. I mean, we got it, but we were the first to try that. When the auditor came, being the head of the factory, I made a presentation for 2.5 hours on our systems and procedures. He did not interrupt. He did not ask even a single question. End of the presentation, he said, "Mr. Stalin, very nice presentation. Thanks a lot. But from today afternoon, I'll be going around and see whatever you talked in this conference call is reflecting in the field or not. If it is reflecting, take it from me, you'll get the 5 stars. If it is not, you are living in an ivory tower without knowing what is happening outside." He said, "Thanks a lot, good luck, let's see what happens." We got the 5-star, but the point is, what do we discuss within the 4 walls of conference halls? How far they reflect in the field, how far we are able to translate into action. That's what really matters. These are just some observations I wanted to make. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
My name is Siddheshwar Gadkari.
Yeah.
I am from Precision Equipment, Chennai. We are a manufacturer of heat exchangers. So I had been working in Middle East for last 15 years and work with Aramco projects where safety and lean management are essential variables. So whenever we start any project, it starts with safety approvals. So when I am sharing my experience so that because I was into production, so I have gone through shoulder to shoulder with all the auditors. So first thing, they will see the washrooms, how they are maintained. Then they will go to the storerooms, how properly it is maintained, and all the materials, whatever materials are there, how they are properly stacked project wise. So getting an Aramco approval was like climbing an Everest. So it was very difficult task. But when I switch on to India, when I started working in India, I found that we are very behind of all these requirements, and it is very difficult to convince the workers at this level. So there should be some programs via television or something online like in Facebook, where government also should take an initiative to propagate this message to the ground level. And most of the time I feel that this education should start in schools also. So that is the take. This education of 5 years and lean management, it should be taken up very seriously in school levels, so that the next generation start adhering it the day they step into a professional career. That is my take actually. And the medium where you are taking this to a next level, I need the organizations to take that initiative and propose all the institutions that they should take these actions with immediate effect. So that is my request. because I can find that a lot of seniors are there in this podium. So if their involvement in getting next generation in that phase, it will be very helpful. Okay, thank you. Thanks from my side.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Siddesh.